Hi, all. Another episode down. We're getting a lot closer to the end. Episode 7, Beyond the Heart City. Let's do it like normal. Is this a good episode? When you look at last week's episode and you compare it to the series as a whole, is this a good episode? It's okay. I know it does have a few issues, but comparatively, it's not the worst we've had to deal with. Um, how would I break this one down? I'd go before bed rumblings, um, breakfast mimosas, safe travel, yet another set of ruins, a fight, and setting up for the ending. Let's get into this one. Now, we've just had a fight where we were able to save Opal, and one of the big bads escaped. And we started the episode out with GM going, Thrust cool, has he provided you all with a safe place for the night to stay? First off, he should have warned us from the get-go. Yes, he's an observer, I understand that. However, he did give Opal scribe protection, so why he couldn't say anything, I'm not really sure. But this is where I feel like we sort of messed up the pacing. We should have gone from the fight to talking about the fight to figuring out our next plans. Instead, she provides the opportunity for each character to go off and do their sort of own thing. To start this sort of own thing out, let's knock Opal out of the way. Opal, for this beginning scene, for all intents and purposes, she falls asleep. She's exhausted. She goes to sleep. She provides nothing here. So we pick up with Dariax. What Matt does in this particular scene is he gives Abria her chance back because she mentioned it in the intro to have that conversation with the observer. So he goes back to the statue, which is kind of crazy because we were just ambushed. Yes, you've now described it. Guards are doubled. What difference does it make? They can't interfere. They didn't help us out in that last fight, so what difference does it make than just the GM needs to talk? So anyway, we're at the statue so we can have our moment. We talk to the observer. Long story short, we get 2 boons. The first boon is we feel this tingle in our back, which will come into play later on in the game. And the second one, because we need more of a visual because of the style of character that he is, our spear gains 2 little dongles on the side. Just kind of how they're described, which basically means our spear went from being our staff from a +2 to a +6, I believe, is what it wound up being. So we're going to move from Dariax to, who was next? Fern. Now, this is where it sort of bothers me. One of the things she's been saying is that I'm not going to tell you how you feel. I'm not going to tell you what's going on. We asked Fern, what you up to? How you feeling? How you vibing? How you living? What you doing? How was your night? My night was great. I got a lot of aggression out. I slept like a baby. Well, she didn't like that answer. So she asked her again, well, how was your night? It was a great night. I slept good, I'm feeling great. Didn't like that answer. This is how your night's actually going. You've ever had night terrors? Let's bring in the real world boys. You ever had night terrors? Ashley, yeah, I've had night terrors. Well, that's basically what you experience when you're trying to sleep. You feel the evil Fern pressing on your chest, looking down on you. It's like, well, if you wanted that, why didn't you just say so from the jump off? Don't tell the players they get to narrate what's going on and then, nope, I'm going to take it away. So we sort of bring that Spider Queen influence back. I thought the goal from this last section was to bring the Singorn elves back into it. So why are we talking about the Spider Queen yet again? So we're going to move from Fern to Orem. And if you've seen any of Liam's stuff, you already know what this section turned into. His usual humdrum. He really needs to play a different style of character. You know, it's the why am I here? If I made the right choice. It's typical Liam stuff. I really hope Campaign 30 brings us an upbeat character because it's too much of that. The only other thing he gets is that the wind blows in a certain direction and you can feel a new quest coming on. Well, no duh. We just had one of our party members almost abducted by the Singorn Elves. Of course there's a new quest going on because the original quest you gave us was so weak that we're not dealing with it. And we just called it as BS on the last episode. So you've given us that quest option, and you've also given us the quest option to go find Omeji, who is doing something with the Iron Alliance. So of course, the wind is blowing in a direction away from what you tried to make it out to be. This is where we then transition into Dorian. Dorian's also wandering the city, trying to find his axe. Well, he eventually finds his axe. It's under like 17 pounds of human or something like that. So he's cleaning the muck and grime off of it. And it's, when he's, wiping his face, as you wipe away, you feel this, you have this single silken thread. Poof, falls off. Well, we realize we're bringing that Spider Queen influence back into it. So maybe we're changing the story back to the Spider Queen somehow. Maybe the Singorn Hills are working with the Spider Queen. I don't know. But again, they had an opportunity a few episodes ago to grab us if they really needed us. But whatever. So the thread pops and you feel a little bit lighter. You always sort of have in your periphery this view of the observer, as now you have this conversation going on in your head about how you're the weak one and your brother is the better one. Yes, we realize that's the Spider Queen. I've already made a deal with the Spider Queen if I'm Dorian. She's not going to be messing with me like that. It's her campaign, so I understand things are different. But it's like, you've just provided us enough distractions that Dorian could easily grab the circlet because of this new distraction and then dip. And you can be like, I was abducted. You've given him a way to be able to sort of duck out. So why would you make it to where the Spider Queen is trying to, make him feel like less of a person? It sort of seems, again, you're needing to talk just to talk, which we need to get rid of. So we move on, and we all get our full night's rest and whatnot. Breakfast time comes, and I'm referring to this as the breakfast wine scene, where Dorian, without getting in the weeds with it, he acquires wine and fruit, or champagne basically, and fruit to make mimosas. It's at this point the party finally, this is about an hour in to the show, finally decide we should talk about what just happened. Of course, Opal doesn't know why they would be after her. Maybe it's to do with Ted. I don't know. Throskul pops up. He doesn't provide the party with any information about what's going on. He does, however, give Opal his blessing, which gives her like 5 temporary hit points. And during this time, the party has decided, hey, we're not going to go back and report on the thing that sent us here because it's basically BS, as you've pointed out. We're going to go look for Omeji in the Iron Alliance. He's sort of like, all right, cool. There's a little tabaxi girl in there who does get a note to the party that was originally from Alam to give to Omeji. It's a little cute scene if you care to watch that. Throskul does give them a map. This map is an outdated map, which I find weird because he can see, so why couldn't he just make a map? He's literally got one of his people out and about right now, so why couldn't they just make a proper map? People obviously come in and out of this secret, not so secret place. But before they do leave, Dariax gives, he takes, one of the mimosas and some fruit or whatnot, and he leaves it on the statue of the observer. And this is where the start of just a ridiculous amount of unnecessary boons come into play. It's almost overkill. Like, okay, we get it. He's your favorite. We get it. Like, let's go on and move. So we leave city. We make a really good roll. So our travel is unimpeded. It's wild, but it's not aggressive. And we get our first moon in that the observer clears the skies for us, and we correct our trajectory, and we make good timing, and we find ourselves at Neardal Sarket. We bring out a map, and you all know my thoughts on bringing out maps early. However, I will say with this one, she actually lets the players interact with the map, and it not just be, it's here, you can't touch it sort of situation. So I'm gonna let this one slide. We bring out the map. We actually allow players eventually, 5-10 minutes in, to do stuff to show where you're at on the map and what you're interacting with, which is a nice touch. It's a cube. It's a rotating cube. It has its own sort of gravitational field. Each side has its own gravity. So if you walk up this way, you're walking right. You walk this way, and it auto-corrects for each surface. Each surface has a different rune. Each rune means something else. The party deciphers the runes. It's on the 5th rune where Matt's character, Dariax, stumbles, injures himself. A golem pops up. He turns invisible. They do continue to decipher the runes. And the runes, for those curious, say, in the correct order, the universe above, the universe within, remember what came before, decide what comes next, provide for all, a shield to protect. I have no clue what that means. I really haven't put that much thought into it, if I'm being honest about it. This sets off a chain of events that will lead us into sort of our next section. This cube, starts to shake and whatnot. Fern focuses, stop shaking. It stops shaking, and we go to break. We come back from break, boom! The cube has exploded, and we're going to roll initiative. Now, if you're somebody who wants to skip through, because like I said, the beginning of this, it didn't provide anything extra other than knowing we're not going to do the original quest, which we'd already kind of decided in the episode before that we were going to, go off in a different direction. You can skip to the 2 hours and 43 minutes section if you just want to watch the fight. You just need to know that we got a full night's rest, and we left to go do find Omeji, which is what we were going to do anyway. So full night's rest. We're heading towards Omeji. We stopped at a room on our way. We activated it. A fight's about to break out. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details of this fight because it's a long sequence. I want to hit some of the big highlights. So with this fight, each player receives a boon, and I'll tell you what those are. Each player also, there's a chance that they will lose -2 to their AC, permanent loss. Obviously, greater restoration sort of deal. And the divide of a DM who really favors somebody versus someone they don't really favor, as well as we're going to say let dice tell a story, but we're not going to let dice tell a story. So, the boons, and these are kind of in order. As they're fighting, one of the boons that Orem receives is he gains an extra battle maneuver. Supposedly, I think the way she worded it should just be for this combat scenario, but maybe it'll continue. Dariax receives an attack bonus kind of thing where his weapon, yes, he's already received the blessing from the observer, but he also now receives, he can decide heavy, which will allow his attack to do double damage, kind of like a crit, or he can do light where he gets an extra attack. Dorian receives the power of gravity over his own body. It's a weird one. Fern gains the power to reroll any D20. She can reroll a D20 roll. Her companions can reroll a D20 roll. Even the bad guys can reroll a D20 roll should she decide. And that only lasts at Abria's discretion. And Opal, eventually, throughout the course of the battle, she gains the ability to, she has this extra HP pool of 11 hit points that she can dole out to anyone as a bonus reaction. Now, I'm going to focus on a particular section of this fight. I'm going to focus on the interaction where there's a Dariax Opal in the same area fight. So here's what happens. We have a golem because they pop up based on certain rolls. When they pop up, a player who is there loses -2 to their AC as well as loses 2 hit points. A golem leaps and he's going to land on top of Matt's character, Dariax. He makes his roll. He obviously fails it. You know, he has inspiration. He gets a chance to re-roll it again. And this is where the DM goes, I'm going to give you yet another boon from the observer because I want to make this happen. What do? Let him roll again. He's able to dodge out of the way. Not only does he dodge out of the way, but you remember that tingle in the back I talked about earlier? You guessed it. Whoosh. Wings pop out of his back. So the golem misses him. He dodges and gains wings. 90 feet speed, I believe, is what she said they were. And does the golem continue their attack? Do they land and swipe at him? No. They land and swipe at, yep, Opal. How did we guess that was going to happen? So they hit Opal. Opal fails her check. Does Opal get a reroll? No reroll for Opal. Free falling off the edge. Gets shot. It's at this point she's also getting shot with residual needles. From where? We don't know. But she's also taking this extra damage, just her. No one else notices this going on. So she asks, hey, what's kind of going on with this? It's not your turn yet. Okay, calm down. Keep the aggression down. We come back around to Dariax's turn. He's able to, fly, get Opal, flies back up, drops her off, burning hands, takes out one of the golems. Fight continues. Who else gets something kind of cool? Opal has, not Opal, Fern has a situation pop up where she gets attacked and she hears this voice. What are you most afraid of? I'm afraid of losing my grandma, obviously. So one of the golems that got knocked to the ground, because her grandma's not around, it's not going to go after Mister because Mister, he didn't get blasted up at the same time. So he's going to get attacked. We never see that happen in this particular episode. So I'm assuming maybe it'll happen in the next episode. I don't know. Also, Opal finally figures out the direction of where she's also taking these extra shots from. And Orem, for no apparent reason, jumps off the cube. I'm not really sure why. He just sort of, he wasn't told that he noticed any of that. He just jumps off in the middle of the fight. Again, we're going to go back. Opal notices it. She misty steps down and starts to run forward. Dorian takes out the last golem with the shatter. We're out of combat, but there's still a golem on the ground. There's still one down there because he's supposed to be going after Mister. But anyway, Opal is now making a beeline for whatever's going on. You know, from above we can see it's a purple cloaked figure. You guessed it. It's more than likely Morata. It turns out it is Morata. Singhorn elves they've been following us apparently. As we're running towards her, Opal falls to the ground because Morata, drives a stake into the ground, and based on where the residual needles are, it hurts that part of her body, Ted. She goes down. She drives the other one in the ground. Opal asks, or Amy asks, can I do something? Jim, yeah, sure, you can do something. I cast the spell that you wouldn't let me cast before because you're saying that it wouldn't work on this creature, which is weird because you rolled for Liam's one of Liam's battle maneuvers that required like a wisdom save, but when Opal wanted to do something that required a psychic save and Dorian wanted to do something that required a wisdom save, you said you newbies don't get anything, but I'm gonna let Liam slide. Anyway, she goes to cast her mind sliver. Oh, it didn't work. What? This is what Amy asks. Well, oh no, it didn't work. Why? Well, you see her sort of flick her finger, counter spell. So she's sharpshooting me like 3 different times. I can't even get a spell off. Nobody else has seen her, but somebody way above, they can't help me, and now I can't do nothing. Morata is saying, I'm going to get you out of there. Who are you talking to? Realize she's talking to Ted, so there's still one more residual needle in her forehead, so I'm assuming when we start, that we haven't slammed into the ground yet. That'll more than likely pull Ted out. So she gets real close, I'm going to get you out in the episode. It's safe to surmise that at the start of the next episode, I would surmise that we're going to slam our next needle down into the ground and we're going to eject Ted from Opal's body. I'm kind of wondering what kind of damage we're going to do because based on my math, she should only have about, I think I said 9 hit points is kind of what I kind of figured up if I, was looking at things correctly. We might have a full-on player death coming up. I don't know. I think that's kind of what she was kind of hoping for this entire time, was to kind of take Opal out. I don't know. But this leaves a lot of questions. One, what is the point of Miradol's Arquette? It's a religious hub, is what we've been led to believe. So why is this big spinning cube in the middle of a religious hub? Was it there to make them fight golems at random? Like to help build their strength up? Because that's a thing. Because if anybody could just walk by and be like, oh, this is da 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 da, and then they're just gonna get attacked. Like, okay. So it's now exploded, but now we got to worry about Morata. So if we run away and start chasing Morata, what was the whole point of that scene? Was it just for us to experience different power boosts? I don't know. There's still a golem on the ground, which we've kind of ignored. Are we no longer going after Omeji? with whatever she's got going on with the Iron Alliance, I guess we just got a note in our back pocket. There's just so many more questions. Oh, I guess I should also, it's, we were kind of figuring Fear Eye was going to pop back up. Is she going to somehow taking care of her sister in that short span of time? Is she going to pop back up for the final episode? I don't know. The one thing we know for sure is that the GM has decided that the Opal storyline is what we're going to end this with. She said, last episode, campaign finale. So we're definitely going to have Opal as Opal Ted situation as the end. So we've ignored the ash hole. The Spider Queen's back burner, unless to fight Morata, somebody in the party is going to have to put the crown on, and maybe that'll bring back some of her timey-wimey. Maybe it'll be a case of Fern, you're really drawn to that crown all of a sudden. Maybe that's, maybe she'll bring that back into it somehow. There are a lot of loose threads for us to only have one episode left. I'm really hoping we're not looking at Exandria Unlimited, whatever the name of this party is, part 2 down the road. I was really hoping this was going to be sort of a one-off deal. We get a new GM and do something else. This storyline just needs to die. It needs to come to an end, and we need to bring somebody else in here. I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts as to where you all think this is going, because there are a lot of loose ends. On that note, a couple quick comments. Kage Kaiju. I've actually been trying to make these episodes shorter. I'm glad you enjoy the longer format. I think I will do campaign 3. I'm a little nervous to do campaign 3. I don't know if they can keep that magic going, but it'll at least be nice to watch coming from Exandria Unlimited. It can't get worse. Yeah, if you're giving out critiques, man, about something that you've been a part of and you're not just a fan of the people on the show, that's because you care. Like, those of us, with these comments here, we actually care about the product. Christopher Madet. Christopher. Yes, Abria is definitely in her head way too much. It's a case of, what's that? Squirrel. She's got squirrel syndrome. She's got to dial it back. A lot of this episode was a lot of extra unnecessary descriptions. It's the bad part of that Matt Mercer effect, whereas the need to describe extra unnecessary things, not get you a few words in about the world around you and let it ride. But there's way too much description going on in this particular episode. Yeah, Opal and pushback of stuff, that's the players, that's the newbie player just growing and learning Dungeons and Dragons in a positive way and calling out issues, which is probably why Opal is now going to be targeted for death, or has been targeted for death. Timothy Burbage. That's a good tip for those who don't use it. Create a table when you want to run a chase scene. Dramatic stuff is fine if you're keeping it within two moves of a player, that 30-60 range. But once you start adding all that other stuff, it's going to become a nightmare. Tables are really good for that. Just kind of said something super. Yes, the Abria effect is real now. I think we should start using that term, but we got to use it correctly, and that it definitely shows that you can only get better. Because if she is the bar for newbies, one, I hope they understand the faults of what's been happening with this series, so that they can become better. But definitely, if she can do this, get paid for it. Anybody could do it. White chocolate tricks. I'm gonna definitely try to keep trucking. We've only got one more episode to go. The low level characters should not be having all these OP items. Maybe they're gonna come into effect in the last episode. I don't know. You shouldn't do it. Definitely cut Fair Eye off. Great invisibility should be a concentration check. Is campaign 3? Is it campaign 3 yet? Yes. Is it campaign 3 yet? Definitely looking forward, because this has been a ride. JB. Yes, it's definitely had a lack of. This series has had a lack of consistency, and the rules constantly changing is a problem. I've said it several times. Rule of cool is fine, but it's more a thematic purpose. You know, using the rule of cool where Matt got to re-roll it to not only save and get wings, which I think that's level 14 thing. Save and get wings, but the next character, they didn't get anything. So that rule of cool is bullcrap. There's a reason we need rules. So she's got to stick to something, which is crazy, because on something else during this game, she was like, no, the rules, you can't do that. You know, we got to follow the rules. It's like, make your mind up. This was a very long fight, and you were doing rule of cool and stick to the rules with certain players. That's BS. Game of Thrones 1, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you found the channel. Yes, she definitely has a lot of microaggression towards the players, and it leaves me, you know, if they hadn't been a parent, a bit frustrated as well. Bad skills. I don't think we're in a negative camp. We're just in a camp that wants something better. I'm not gonna say we're in a negative camp. It's a camp of people that know it could be better, and she's what did she say? I do what I want. You know, that's not okay. I was just kind of goofing about that Gilmore thing. She would get crucified, she'd get crucified. And EXU is definitely the learning place, the place to learn the do's and don'ts of being a GM, especially if you want to go to other tables, because there are a lot of don'ts in this one. And with it being such a short series, yeah, that part should have definitely been established up front. Keenan Criswell, keys to the Corvette, yeah. Mo. Series, yeah, it's definitely been a case of square peg in a round hole. Yeah, I would have loved if they could have got some, DB Walters, Deborah Ham would have also been pretty great. I think they're just too attached to other big shows. But who knows? Maybe if this continues, we will get a chance for them to do a short mini series, which would be really cool. Stan Van R. Dude, that sucks that you start watching the show, but I'm glad you're watching the reviews. Arch Little. That's a much better story pitch than this entire campaign. You should have been running that thing, because that would have definitely kept it to the 8 episodes and made it make sense. Andrew commented in. Yeah, they're working on that campaign guide, so I think that definitely screwed us. This feels like a really badly written story. And Bubba Litchis. Sucks you had to give up on the show. Yeah, but this one's definitely been a rough one to watch. Next, overall, this episode, coming from the last one, you can watch it. Youngins. But I don't know. at least there's only one more to go. And then maybe we can get back to some good stuff. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Love to hear them. Always enjoy reading the comments. Till the last review.